I'm going to start, not surprisingly, with the big picture. And then I'm going to go through to some of the tactical and practical, giving you ideas of what to do in the next 2 months and 2 years going forward. In 1976, the world's largest mall opened in Randall Park, just outside Cleveland. It was all very exciting, as you can imagine. There was big fanfare, everyone loved it, and it worked well for many years. Unfortunately, by the early 90s, it had started to really significantly fail. And by 2009, it shuttered. Now, note, by the early 90s, this mega mall was already failing. Amazon didn't get established until 1994. You cannot blame what's happened to retail and to big malls on Amazon and their ilk. There were structural shifts already happening, the decline of the middle class being the main one, offshoring, loss of manufacturing, etc., and changes in consumer behavior that have led to this. Retail, we think, is at an inflection point. Legacy American retail is a machine. And it's a machine built and perfectly, finely tuned to address a large, stable, homogeneous middle-income market. It's time for a new approach. We need to build something that is more dynamic, more adaptable, responds to the increasingly fragmented audience we are all seeking to serve. We think that retailers best positioned for success in the future will be those that adopt a more expansive definition of retail itself. It can be being in augmented reality and sitting in your living room and deciding what furniture to have and having it positioned and placed perfectly. When we think of retail and we think of physical stores, we've generally considered for them to have a fixed abode, because we usually go to the store. But we're also seeing prototypes in places like China and elsewhere, this is not the only concept being trialled, where you call the store via an app and it comes to you. And finally, in this section, which is about opening our minds to what retail could be, this is Hema Market in Shanghai and Beijing, and this is Alibaba, Jack Ma behind them. There are 13 of them at the moment, and this, I think, is the state of play. This is as good as it gets right now and is indicative of where things will go in the future for true post-channel retail. So that is a great example, I think, of platform thinking. So this is my big idea that I want you to go away with. Platform thinking, it's not about buying a big new technology platform. That's not what I'm talking about. I know that there's confusion of these general terms, so I'm going to try and pin this down a bit more for you. So, the best we could do in the time we had, in terms of a succinct definition for this, is radical modularity that both sweats assets and delights consumers. Platformization refers to the dominance of the market by a small number of huge, omniscient, monopolistic players. You can't beat them, they're too big. You can either join them, which many are and have done very successfully, or you can not join them because you don't like what that might potentially mean for you in the future. But you can't not think like them, because they employ platform thinking, and everyone else has to too. I talk a lot about the Fourth Industrial Revolution. Anyone who knows me is bored with it. But the Fourth Industrial Revolution allows us to do more things in more exciting ways with brand stretch. So, what is a DIY store? Castorama is a DIY store. What is it really selling? It's selling more beautiful homes that you've done cheaply yourself with DIY. And why do you want the more beautiful home? So that you can spend more time, quality time, with your family. And what is more quality than quality time with kids? It's telling them stories at bedtime. So they sell the wallpaper, but it now comes as part of a media program which is free once you've bought the $11.99 roll of wallpaper. So we've just talked about platform thinking and the strategies. We looked at those three areas. We're coming now to my personal favourite, which is a case study that we covered in the last quarter. It's still very new. It's called Cahn's Stream Store. It's a tiny little independent cheese shop in the Netherlands. And it's owned by this chap and his sons. They don't have a website. They tried to have one, and it just didn't really work. The dad doesn't really even do email. Okay, they're old school, but the dad loves retail and he's great with people. He loves selling cheese, he loves talking to people about cheese. And so ABN AMRO have worked with this tiny little cheese shop to bring in some tech and to sweat the assets. And they've created a shoppable, interactive live stream of daily life inside the store. It was only for 5 days, but get this, they had 56,901 virtual visitors in those 5 days from 140 countries, and they made hundreds and hundreds of new sales. So my point is, if you employ platform thinking, you sweat your assets, you think about things in a different and more innovative way, even a small store that doesn't have big budgets can get on board.